Hey everyone, welcome to the Mean Green Gridiron podcast, the Victory Edition. Joined once again by Carter, Mr. 1-0. How you doing, man?
Oh, it feels good. It's always nice to podcast after a win.
Yeah,
I think we have the opportunity to go 2-0 for, I guess, what would be the first time since 2018.
yeah. I think we're
Um,
1-0 for the first time since 2018. Oh
ouch.
no, sorry, 2020, 2022. We won the UTEP
No, we,
game.
yeah,
But
we beat
yeah,
UTEP. Yeah. But even still, 2-0 is like just feels nice. I'm not jumping ahead of SFA at all, but just to hear the opportunity to go 2-0 is very very pleasing on the ear.
yeah, for sure. I remember, I became a North Texas fan in 2011, and 2013 we won our first game, and it was like I can't remember. They had said North Texas hadn't started 2-0 since, however long. And it's like, really, it's been that long since they started 2-0,
Yeah,
2-0. It's hard to come by, especially, typically you're starting the season with one of those games that's, a tougher opponent early on.
definitely.
So, hard to come by. You can't take it for granted for sure. Easier said than done. But yeah, it was a fun opening week. Um, definitely a lot of stress. Definitely had the emotional roller coaster that we all love as football fans, going into starting the season. But what? How can you start off by anything other than Chandler Morris? I mean that was just awesome to watch, man. It was like this
I
this dude is really our quarterback.
I have one thing I have to mention about Chandler Morrison. I talked about it in the pregame pod, which was just how good his accuracy can be when he
Yeah,
is comfortable in the pocket. Um, the thing I think kind of everybody's overreactions to him just slinging it for 400 yards and like a 75% completion percentage, which is so easy to get super excited about that after one game, and people are making these like comments about like he's the best QB we've ever had, and like the thing about like Mason Fine, who would be the clear number two there, is that Mason Fine's size limited him. Chandler Morris has like a prototypical like standard QB build, and so I think he's a little bit better at just getting some consistent pocket placement.
yeah,
Watching that game on Saturday was just so comfortable on offense. It felt like we had a chance to score every time we had the ball. Um, I was listening to Adam's the Mean Green show, and he mentioned
Green
something
Nation.
about Mean Green Nation podcast. Yeah, and he mentioned a good point that I wanted to bring up too, which was that um, I think you might have brought this up too on the preview pod. It felt like in previous years, like our offense has very much been like a big play offense where we'll have like 6 plays, 74-yard
Yeah,
drives, and then a couple punts, and then like that we relied on the big play. And on Saturday, we were getting like 14, 15, 16 play, 80-yard drives and moving it with consistency. And it felt like if we got stuffed on a run, that we would, just turn around and make a quick 10-yard pass. It felt very much more comfortable for Chandler Morris with him back there. And again, like I said, just every pass he made just looked so comfortable and was right on the numbers. He didn't look flustered at all, even when we were trailing right around halftime. Like it was just composure. And
mhm,
so I think that's something that's really exciting for the next 11 games this year is that, this is what Saturday was just what we had hoped. It was just if this
yeah,
guy stays healthy, he's the best player on the field for us with our competition pretty much any given Saturday.
yeah.
You asked what my thoughts were outside of Chandler Morris, and I just wanted to, we're going to talk about the defense a little bit today. I'm sure. Uh, I just wanted to note that the game ended on a defensive stop. I know
Mhm.
everybody was probably in panic mode, and rightfully so, about how bad the defense looked, particularly in the first half. Just a lot of busted coverages, a lot of missed tackles, just kind of looked like the same defense from last year. But I do want to give them a little bit of some credit. They did kind of shore up at halftime. It's clear that they made some adjustments that again didn't totally work. They did end up giving 38 points. That one busted touchdown we gave up where we had a sack.
Yeah,
It was
Brian Nelson.
in the fourth quarter. Just wrap him up and take him down, and then he slips out of it and slings it 30 yards. And the pass should have been broken up too. I mean, it's just poor, just everybody just out of place and not making their plays.
Yeah.
But yeah, after halftime, it looks like the defense kind of cleaned some stuff up and felt a little bit sure of themselves. Ethan Weslowski still can't tackle, which sucks. I was really excited about him in the pregame pod, and he did not have a great game on Saturday. I don't know. I think my lukewarm take, which is pretty much the same as everybody else's, is that if the defense can play like that, where they're bad for 2 quarters, but they're good enough for 2 more. That's like we said in the preview pod. There's 8-9 wins on the table, and that's all you can ask for with how bad this defense was last year. So I don't know. I really liked that the game ended, like I said, on a defensive play, and yeah, I think it was a good win. That was one of our best road wins that I can remember since I've been a fan since 2016, 2017.
Yeah,
it was definitely in like the top 5 road wins I've seen. So
yeah, and I've seen people say it. I can't remember if it was in the pod or on the board or what, but these are the kind of games that Seth Luttrell got fired over, not being able to win in non-conference play on the road.
Absolutely.
And
Luttrell loses that game like 58-48.
Yeah,
100 out of 100 times. Yep.
Yeah, I mean the one I always go back to is that UNLV game that last year. I mean that was, I think that was kind of the final nail in his coffin, where it was like, okay, you get the rest of the season, but unless you do something, unless you really prove it, like, yeah, you're done. We can't have this. I mean that was not a good team, and they hung a billion on us. Felt like, but again, just the road win, it was 58-27. The road losses, the bowl games, like, I know Morris hasn't won a bowl game yet, but this is the type of competition where you've got a team that again won a bowl game last year on the road at their place where they played their bowl game, and
Sure.
you went and took care of business, and that was fun to see. Morris he looked great. It's funny because I didn't really think about it until you said it, but he's only listed at like 6 feet tall, but he doesn't look like a small quarterback out there.
No, yeah.
I mean, we're used to obviously with Mason Fine, it was like, okay, he looks small out there. It's noticeable. Whereas, yeah, with Chandler Morris, it was like he didn't look small. He looked, he hung in the pocket, like you said. Like I think South Alabama touched him maybe twice. With one of them being a roughing the passer. I mean, he had outstanding pocket presence. He got the ball out pretty quick. He has one of the things that really impressed me the most about him was his internal clock. I mean, he knew you could tell he had that timing of, first read, second read, get the ball to the safety valve, get the ball to the running back in the flat. And the running back in the flat, there wasn't a ton of yards. I think Ragsdale broke one off for 17 on that little check down to the flat. But, other than that, it was, 2, 3, 4 yard gains. But, I mean, that's such a big difference from, getting sacks. And, Chandler Rogers, not to bash him too much, but I think that was my biggest critique of him last year. I thought he had a tremendous season. He was a great quarterback. He deserved to lead the team to a better record than they had. But I thought that the one thing that he did in his control that he didn't do great was he took some sacks, and he took some blindside sacks where you could tell he did not see the dude coming at all, got blown up and from behind and fumbled, or just took big sacks. Even in the UAB game, in a game where he played great offensively, I thought that was his biggest hiccup. There was a play where a guy came off the edge. He kind of jumped the snap a little bit, legally. He had a good read on it, and he just pretty much got past Mekhi Lee off the edge like pretty easily. And you could tell, I don't think it was a designed rollout, but Morris basically treated it like it was, and he started rolling out as soon as he saw that happen, and he got it out to Jeremiah Aaron for like a 15-yard gain in the fourth quarter. I think it was fourth or third quarter. and that was huge to me. It was that kind of made me realize, all right, like this guy, he's next level in the mental aspect, where he sees things before they're happening. He can really process everything that's going on in a way that you just don't see
Yeah.
a ton. And by really any, at any level, even P4, P5, like he looks like a legit, just really good college quarterback.
Yep.
But then guy we haven't talked about yet is Damon Ward,
Damon
230
Ward.
receiving yards. I mean, it was super impressive because it was just always there. That the slant route for the most part, but like that dude, he runs a full route tree. Like he had some comebacks. He had some more over the middle kind of dig or post stuff. Like he going outside too. I mean, he looked legit. Very excited for him. 6-year senior. Obviously, people like to talk about the transfer portal era and how rare it is to see guys stick out their entire careers. And he has, and it's paid off. When we signed him, he was like he was sort of the side dish to the main meal from that school that year was Deontay Simpson. They were teammates at Beaumont Westbrook, and yeah, it was seen as like Simpson was the big haul, and Damon Ward was kind of the guy who came with him. And Ward has obviously exceeded that label and then some. So yeah, really happy to see another guy who looked really good was your guy DT Sheffield.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something?
No, well, we're on DT Sheffield. Just the physicality, man. There were a couple plays where he broke tackles, and I don't know what his yards after catch numbers were, but dude, his physicality on Saturday was so good. Like he looked physically stronger. Like we kind of talked about in the. I know we kind of prefaced it with like the defense, kind of like we needed to like outsize some opponents. We need some of our receivers and some of our flex players to like out physical guys. Like that's a big key component of winning in the American, especially as we've tried to like kind of upgrade our roster the last couple of years. Dude, DT Sheffield played like a man on Saturday. That dude would just, again, I got to look up his yards after catch numbers because I don't know it, but he was amazing. He was awesome. And then Damon Ward, like you said, we talked about that in the opener too. His ability to get open over the top on slants, posts, like you just mentioned, we feel so much less reliant on fade passes. I mean, I don't really recall any big plays that came on fade routes Saturday.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it was slants, posts, curl routes, like in routes. Like it was all sort of like we're like owning the middle of the field was so important to getting that win on Saturday. And that's just what I wanted to say about Ward is like that was something really encouraging to see from him. Is that a lot of these guys, we're relying on, like we've talked about with our receivers, is just the speed. Since we don't have a ton of like 6'2", 210 receivers, we're relying on some of these smaller guys to use their speed and athleticism to get past guys. So if we're creating space on, again, South Alabama's defense was pretty respectable last year. They returned a lot of starters.
Yeah.
It's very encouraging. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's awesome that Damon Ward has, a 250-yard receiving game, but like to the way he did it and the space that he created, very encouraging. And like we said, when we got Chandler Morris with just comfortable time back there, it's super, super inspiring. So yeah, I'm glad that my DT Sheffield bet paid off because from what I had seen from him, he looked super encouraging. And then Saturday, he surpassed any expectations I had tenfold. So,
yeah, I'm super excited for him this season. There were a few plays where he gets the ball in the outside, wherever he gets the ball at. He looks like a running back in terms of like he knows how to read blocks. Like he's got he's got that strength, that that center of gravity kind of strength. And he just, like you said, he knows how to read blocks. He's a return, he's got history as a return man. He had some good returns. But I think more than anything, like I said, he knows how to read blocks. There were a few plays. I think the first drive, it looked like I think it was third down, kind of they were close to the goal line or they were in the red zone, third down, and I think it was one of those plays where Oscar Hammond, who did not have a great game, that he's going to want to forget about. He had, I think, 2 or 3 false starts. I think he kind of backed us up, and then they ran that sort of jet shovel pass play to Sheffield, and he broke, and it looked like he was going to score for a second, and then he kind of got tripped up. But that, and then a couple of the swing passes where he, we had like Wyatt Young blocking for him, and there were plays on the outside where it's like when he gets that ball, he has running back vision. Like he knows where to go, where the blocks are setting up, where the defense is flowing, and he like that's going to be super helpful this season because that's just such a easy bread and butter play. Like you can have maybe good cornerbacks, you can have a team that's kind of stopping you inside in the run play. Like you can have some stuff not going for you, but I think that's always going to be there. Is like you always have Sheffield as a guy who you can just get the ball out to and let him work.
Yep.
It doesn't matter who we're playing against. I think that's going to be there all season.
Yep. And we did all that offensive production. By the way, one important note I wanted to bring up. We scored 52 points. We had a missed field goal. We had a drive that got down to the 1 where Eric Morris himself said he should have called a better play. I don't know what happened on that busted 4th down where Chandler rolled out right. He could have ran it in.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who the receiver was on the right side.
It was Ward. Yeah.
Was it Ward? Okay.
Yeah.
We should have scored a touchdown there. We had a 1st and goal at the 5 or whatever it was. And we had a kick return called back. So that's 17 points, give or take, that we left off of the board, and we still scored 52.
Yeah.
And we did all that without Landon Sides, who on paper was probably 1 or 2 in terms of the most exciting receiver coming into the season, or the guy that we had like the highest expectations for based off last year. And getting Landon back, I know he's questionable this week, but getting him back soon, I mean, the weapons, just like you said, everything you just said about DT Sheffield, the fact that we're going to add Landon Sides into the mix with Damon Ward and Blair Conwright, I mean, this is just super exciting. Like, this is really the most excited I've been about our offense since at least 2018. Just the amount of weapons we got and what we were able to accomplish on Saturday, while still being limited in terms of injuries and being game 1. So exciting, man.
Yeah.
I just feel good. This win has me feeling good. This is a good one.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's huge. I mean, as you look to kind of predict future success, those are the things that you look at as like, okay, like where were we close? Where did we, where do we have opportunities that were missed, that are coachable, that we can, you could see this team getting there. I thought, I'll talk about kind of the same thing on defense with, how we played there, but finishing up the offense, yeah, we had some good, freshman contributions. Wyatt Young looked good. Kyle Cook had a pass on 3rd down that he caught and got a pretty big first down in the second half. Jeremiah Aaron, I thought, looked really good too. Another transfer receiver. That guy, I mean, he looks kind of like DT Sheffield a little bit, and I think the announcer maybe even got them mixed up one time, but like they kind of have those, like, you can tell they have the low cut sleeves, and they got the guns showing, they're not afraid to show it. And like he moves good. He had a touchdown that got called back for like an illegal procedure, I think. But yeah, that dude, I mean, he looks like he's going to be a solid weapon as your, 4th receiver. That's pretty exciting. Yeah, pretty nice deep receiving core. Running game wasn't great, but I will say that the offensive line, they looked really good in pass protection. And if you look good in week 1 and with a pretty much a almost fully new offensive line.
Plus Jet Duncan going down.
Yeah, exactly. Jet Duncan went down. Tyler Mercer stepped up and played great. But yeah, so I mean, I think once he went down, it was 5 new starters from last season. So with a new offensive line, I think you're asking you're getting a little greedy. I think expecting them to be like lights out in pass protection and run blocking.
Yeah.
So yeah, they look great in pass protection. Like I said, Chandler Morris got touched. I want to say he only got touched once, and it was on a roughing the passer in the pocket. So like the pass protection held up tremendously. 41 dropbacks. So that was really impressive. Running in, like I said, it left some to be desired. I thought, DeMondre Harris had a couple good runs. Jawan Price, he looked quick. I think he didn't have some There were a few times he didn't have great holes to run through, and he kind of made something. Ragsdale, looked a little bit, maybe not really ready to really plant his foot and go. It didn't look like he was physically altered. It looked more like he was he looked a little bit hesitant to make a move, hesitant to pick a path before it's too late. And I think that's pretty natural. That'll come with time. And the funny thing with him is, even without an ACL, coming off an ACL injury, historically he has kind of started season slow. In 2021, he really, I think he had kind of some injuries that season as well. And let me see, I'm looking up his stats, but I want to say in 2021, it was like the last 4 games of the season, he had 112 yards rushing, 5 yards rushing, 102 and 146. So that season, he basically had almost all of his rushing yards in 3 of the last 4 games. 2022 was the same thing. He started off slow, and then ended the season strong with 74 against UAB, 112 against Rice, 108 against UTSA, 94 against Boise State. So the 2021 and 2022, the seasons that we have of him before this year, he's kind of started slow, and so maybe that's just a him thing. I'm sure playing running back at the FBS level is pretty tough, so it makes sense that you kind of get more acclimated as the season goes on. But I think he'll be a helpful piece. And yeah, like I said, I think the offensive line, I don't have any concerns that the running game won't be there. We'll see if that becomes an issue. 4 or 5 games in and we still haven't got it going, then I might be a little bit concerned. But with this passing game is just so good, and it can beat you in so many different ways that it's just hard to be super concerned about it. And I haven't even seen very many concerns on the board about it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have any other notes. You kind of covered everything I was going to say, but yeah, just the variety of options and weapons we got. Exciting. Good win.
And then now to go to the less fun part, the defense. So yeah, not a good performance in terms of basically any metric that you're gonna go off of. I will kind of give them a little bit of a curved grade. I think 38 points and 582 yards allowed, 432 through the air. Not what you want, but Capone has said consistently throughout the offseason that it's all about selling out for the run right now, and that's what their main goal is, and I think that you kind of accomplished. The South Alabama running backs had 20 carries for 88 yards, so less than 5 yards a carry, or 4.4 yards per carry. So if you can hold the other team's running backs at 4.4 yards a carry, we're gonna be in really good shape defensively. That's really solid. Another thing, first half, defense allowed 273 yards on 35 plays. I took out the last drive. I think they had like a 9-yard run, but so 282 yards on 36 plays. So about 8 yards a play. In the second half, they ran 48 plays and we allowed 270 yards, so 5.6 yards a play, which is pretty solid. Again, it was second half. It was a lot of prevent defense, playing from ahead by multiple scores the majority of that second half, and South Alabama trying to kind of extend the game, throwing the ball a lot, and I thought they did okay. 270 yards, 5.6 yards per play is you take that defensively.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing that really stood out impressively is that Lopez had 49 pass attempts and he completed only 26 passes. So plus we had 2 sacks. So out of 51 dropbacks, he completed 26 passes. So that's a pretty impressive rate. But basically 50% of the time he dropped back, they were completing a pass, which I think forcing 23 completions is promising. The problem was obviously the big play, but 23, like I said, 53% completion percentage. Again, if you force teams to 53% completion percentage, you're going to be in really good shape this season.
Yeah, for sure. And well, I also want to add too that they looked
Yeah.
like they wore down the offensive line a little bit as the game went on. Like they definitely
Yeah.
created more pressure on Gio in the second
For
half.
sure. Yeah, and that was the good thing, I guess, about the defensive line being the one area that wasn't really hit hard with like injuries or suspensions.
Right.
Is they had some they kept some fresh bodies out there. We saw some true freshmen. We saw the transfers out there. Yeah, it looked like a good rotation. So hopefully that'll continue to improve. And Rod Brown had 2 sacks. That was huge as well. Shout out to him, being kind of a leader of the defense. But yeah, you look at South Alabama offensively, 197 yards receiving by Jamal Pritchett. Their next leading receiver had 63. So like that dude created kind of a disproportionate amount of the damage offensively. And I don't know if he's the best receiver we're going to see all season, but I would say he's probably going to be up there among the highest. Like when it's all said and done, he'll probably have as many receiving yards as anybody we play all year.
Yep. Yeah, we were ready for it too. It made it hurt just a little bit less because I kind of expected it. I was like, watching that guy's tape come into this game, I was like, I could see him going off for 200 yards. I'm pretty sure I said that verbatim in the preview. I was like, I could definitely see this being a game where this guy just has a random 200-yard game. And sure enough, yep. But he wasn't the best receiver in the game, and that's all that matters.
He wasn't. And, that's a testament to Damon Ward. But, like I said last week, I feel like the guys who hurt us more often than not are these quick, just hard to bring down receivers more often than the Cortland Sutton types who are just moss us downfield. But the thing with Jamal Pritchett is there was one play. So I'm going to talk about things that kind of the defense did that are very coachable. So one thing is there was a play in the third quarter where we had held them to back-to-back 3-and-outs. Start the third quarter down 14-19. South Alabama gets the ball. Defense goes 3-and-out. Offense goes down, scores touchdown. Defense goes 3-and-out again. Offense goes down, scores touchdown. That was the big flip of the game. And then after that, they went down and Pritchett, they threw a little flare out screen to him. And as he's clearly trying to bounce out to the sideline, and Rich Tejada is running with him. And Pritchett makes kind of a false step back towards the middle of the field, like he's going to cut it back inside. And Tejada kind of takes the bait. And then Pritchett takes that moment of hesitation by Tejada to kick it out and get around him, get the corner, and he went down and scored. I think that's a good coachable moment where, look, Tejada, you got to know in that situation as the cornerback, you're the outside contained guy. Your help is on the inside. Don't let him bait you into, you going inside and then give him a corner. You know where your help's at. Again, I think that's super coachable. That wasn't an issue of, not having the talent on the field. I think we have the talent, to make that play. But obviously a very good player makes that play even harder to make. And then, like we talked about earlier, Brian Nelson, he almost sacks Gio Lopez. That was kind of a, for a freshman, Brian Nelson, like a welcome to college football moment where, hey, that dude who's built like a cement mixer at quarterback, if you hit him up high in the back and try and blow him up, you're going to end up getting a piggyback ride. Yep. So you're going to want to aim a little bit lower and make sure you wrap up and bring him down instead of just, rely on a good pop to knock him off his feet. So again, coachable, just, small things that you're in position to make the play, go ahead and make it. There was another one too, where Jaden Hill and had a similar play on McReynolds where he let him bounce it outside of him when he had more help inside. So stuff like that, I think, small stuff to clean up. But overall, like I said, defense did not play well, but they showed some signs that I feel better about them this year. Like I said, 23 incompletions forced is something to be proud about.
Absolutely.
The running game, 88 yards and 20 carries by the running backs, that's something to be proud about.
That was the lowest rush yards in a game we've allowed under Eric Morris.
Oh, wow.
Does it mean that much? Probably not, but it's a confidence boost.
Yeah.
It's more
Yeah.
of indicative of how bad we were last year, but
Well, yes, but also like the fact that this was a team that ran the ball really well last year. So in South Alabama. So that was yeah, that's still something I think to hang your hat on.
yeah, absolutely.
Any other thoughts, closing thoughts on the South Alabama game?
The uniforms look awesome. I don't
Yeah.
know. I like the new threads.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to watch this team again. Like
Yeah.
this is the first time in a couple of years where I've really been excited for like every single game. Like I'm pumped up. Even though we're playing an FCS team this week, I'm not overlooking them. I'm excited for Saturday. Like I don't know, just it just feels like a rejuvenated team. And again, like you said, there's a lot of coachable moments. Not everything was perfect, but I think that enough little things went our way on Saturday to where you can learn from those mistakes. Um, not to harp on the bend but don't break thing, but the defense bent really far on Saturday,
Mhm.
but they didn't break. And that's all you need. I mean, if that's the worst game we play on defense all year, we're looking good. I hope it is. Probably
Yeah.
won't be, but that's my takeaway. I'm excited. I'm very optimistic. They gave me a good reason to be hopeful after that one. So
Yep. And I kind of assume that most people listening to this podcast are probably consuming a good amount of other Mean Green football coverage. But yeah, before the game, the news broke that three three of the players listed prominently on our depth chart in their secondary were suspended indefinitely. There's some rumors swirling that they're probably not going to be back all season, or they might not be back, or I don't know. That there's a university decision. So it's David Sproles, who's going to be a starter at star safety, sophomore. Um, Xavion Bryce and BJ Allen, the two Texas transfers. One was going to be starting at corner, or backup at corner. The other was going to be a backup safety in the rotation mix. So, you lost three guys that I think the defense was kind of expecting to have.
yeah,
So, we'll see what's going on there. I'm of the opinion that until they're back, I'm proceeding that they're not going to be back.
yeah.
That makes sense.
I think again, I'm far from the first person with inside sources. It feels like they're kind of in like a limbo of they're expelled but trying to appeal it, and I don't want to say something that's not the facts because I don't know the specifics. But
Right.
yeah, I'm rolling with the same thing, and I think it'd be disingenuous to say that didn't play some role in the defense's performance on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was probably a lot of excitement with those three, like specifically those three guys
Yeah.
coming in and making an impact. It matters when you lose not one but three of those guys. I am again, not saying that we would have had an overwhelmingly better performance, but it does matter, and those guys think about it. So different guys have to step up. But real quick, what was the center? I just want to give a shout out real quick. Last note on this game. What the center's name who stepped up?
Tyler Mercer.
Dude, MVP of the game, if you
Yeah.
ask me.
No,
Like
he got MVP from the team or Coach Morris or whoever.
He deserved it. Unspoken hero, man. Stepped in, true freshman, looked like a seasoned vet at center, and just especially with a quarterback like Chandler Morris, who has a ton of experience and history back behind you. Man, you couldn't have looked better. So that I just want to give my props to him.
Yeah, that was huge. And we basically lost our center depth chart this offseason. So he was able to come in and be, second on the depth chart immediately. He came in, I think he came in the spring and was, backing up Duncan. So, I'm as a recruiting guy, I harp on it a lot that, there's a lot of people of the opinion that, recruiting high school is irrelevant these days, and that it's counterproductive. You recruit a high school guy and he just leaves you as soon as he gets good. Look, the high school guys, first of all, those have been the guys who've been staying. You look at our receiver core. Macklin was a transfer, he left. Trey Cleveland was a transfer, he left. And then Damon Ward, who we signed out of high school in 2019, he stayed. So, I think same thing with offensive line, guys like Ethan Miner, and or I guess Fabechi, in way he was a he was actually a walk-on. But I think Chandler Rogers, he was a transfer. Io Day was a transfer. I think you have a better shot at keeping the guys you sign out of high school long term than you do with the guys that you just get in the portal, and they're
absolutely.
they're already So, anyways, Tyler Mercer, huge. He was a huge pickup that we didn't realize was huge until until I think this Saturday. But great local kid out of Prosper. It flipped him from Tulane, so that was again just another good reason to show like how important high school recruiting still is, and how really early some of these guys can make an impact. But
Yep.
All right, shifting gears to SFA. So they played like just one of the most hilarious college football games you'll ever see. They played an NAIA team, and they were winning 70-0 at halftime, and played 2 5-minute running quarters in the second half. I mean, it's just like it was just such a silly, it was just such a silly game that you just can't take serious in pretty much any way. But last year they were 3-8. They've got their coaches Colby Carthel, who I think a lot of people kind of in Texas football are pretty high on long term as a coaching kind of breakout guy. He's sort of been in that mold for a while. He was good at Texas A&M Commerce D2 when they were D2. Their quarterback, I'm sure what his name is, but he's he's in his 4th season of college football, and he's on his 4th team. So his name is Sam Vidlak. He started his career. Let's see. Sorry, I closed out of my window. I don't know why. Started his career at Oregon State 2021, Boise State 2022, Montana last year, where he played a little bit, and then now at SFA he's their starter. He was 8 of 8 for 288 yards and 5 touchdowns. You want to talk about the yak that DT Sheffield had? It was nothing on the yak that these guys had. I mean, I think I want to say 3 of those touchdown passes by Vidlak were screen passes that they just took to the house because the North American or whoever they're playing just had no chance to tackle them. They do have some other talent that's kind of P4 transfer at the skill position level. Quaylen Jones had 9 carries for 121 yards. He played at Baylor from 2019 until last season. He had 448 rushing yards his last season at Baylor in 2022. So he was a producer at the Big 12 level. So that's definitely a guy you take serious. Kylan Harris was I think their leading returning receiver. He had 694 yards last year, had 115 in this opening game. And then they also have two P4 transfers in Jordan Neighbors and Blaine Green. Jordan Neighbors came from Baylor as well, and then Blaine Green came from Oklahoma State. So they've got some skill players who have some pedigree behind them. I think Vidlak, to me, this is a guy who we should kind of our secondary should look good against. He, again, going into the season, he had 3 touchdown passes to 4 interceptions in his career playing college football. Just 4th year, just won their starting job, but I don't think he's not a guy who overly concerns you like a Maverick McIver from Abilene Christian, for example, at the FCS level. So we'll see. I mean, maybe he's better this season, but again, I think this is a game where we talk about defense forcing 23 completions last week. Let's see something similar this week. I want to see him in the low 50% completion percentage, somewhere in that range where we're making him think in the secondary, forcing some coverage sacks, muddying up those passing lanes with the safeties and making him hold the ball and have trouble, having to go to his second, third reads.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think this is very much just a matter of, SFA, like some of the guys you pointed out, they do have some P3, P4 level athletes on their team. But yeah, this is an offense that I know they got a lot of new transfer faces in this year, but they were bad last year. This doesn't really concern me. This kind of screams like a game we win in the 59-24 range, where we should be able to, really move the ball well on offense. I'm not reading anything into a 77-0 win. You got to beat somebody besides North American University, and like you said, you were talking about those yards after catches. I went back and looked at their box score, and they literally have like a string of receivers who have like one catch 18 yards, one catch 25 yards, one catch 60 yards, one catch 50 yards. It's like our DBs are bad, but they're not that bad. So I think it's going to be, they might be able to do a little bit on offense against us. Colby Carthel's a really good head coach. He's established himself in Texas for a while. He's one of those coaches that you can always take seriously, even though he coaches at lower levels. But if this is anything closer than like 60-30, I'm a little concerned. We really need to win this game by 4 or 5 touchdowns and create some separation. But one thing I really want to see on Saturday is, like we talked about the running game. I would like to see some established some better gaps.
For sure.
Some better physical dominance on the running side. I don't need to see Chandler Morris throw for 400 yards Saturday. We're going to save that for next weekend, hopefully, against Texas Tech. But yeah, this weekend I'd really just like to see the running game establish themselves, get a couple more guys mixed in. If Landon Sides plays, maybe try some jet sweeps, just trying to move the ball laterally a little bit better than that we did on Saturday. But I don't know. I'm not really scared. I don't want to jump past SFA, but they are a not good FCS team with one fake win under their belt, and I hope they have a good season after us. I don't want to disrespect them. They're still athletes, but this should be a fairly easy contest.
Yeah, I think the two things that I'm looking at is if we can hold them under 21 for the game or under 14 through 3 quarters, if either one of those two things happen, I'm feeling pretty good about the defense.
Absolutely. Yep.
If maybe they get, let's say they have, call it 10 points through 3 quarters and they get a couple touchdowns off our backups in the 4th quarter, something like that. I'm not going to lose a ton of sleep over that as long as we can hold them through, either one of those. Like I said,
turnovers too. Turnovers.
Yeah, for sure. Turnovers. We talked about that last week. We didn't get one. You correctly called the under. I said 1.5. I put it on you at 1.5. You said under. You were right. You said under, but we'd still win.
I don't want to be right. I wanted to be wrong, but we didn't need them. It's okay.
You were right about the thing that mattered, which was the win. So we'll give you credit on the more important prediction. But anyways, yeah, no, totally. Turnovers. That's got to be a huge theme going forward. Like I said, let's look. Sam Vidlac did not have to endure any kind of pressure on his dropbacks or any tight window throws. Put that on him this week. Make him, have to get rid of the ball with pressure in his face. Make him have to get rid of the ball with very little separation between cornerback and his receivers. Let's put some pressure on him. And yeah, hopefully let's force some picks. But those are the things I'm looking for. I think score prediction wise, I think I'll say something like 56-21. Mm-hmm. I think I'd be pretty happy with that kind of performance. I'm sure there'll be field goals in there, but I'll go with that one for now. And then it's easy to look ahead. You mentioned it, Texas Tech the week after that. They really struggled. Their secondary looked terrible, and it's easy to chalk this one up against SFA as a win, and then start wondering what does 3-0 look like. Then what is 4-0, 5? It's easy to see. It's easy to see, and if you're a fan, I don't blame you. Luckily, we're not the players, so we don't have to worry about looking ahead and it messing up our performance on the field.
Absolutely. This is my last thought, and then we can get out of here. It's not much to preview about SFA, unfortunately. This is last year we beat Abilene Christian by 14 points. We struggled a little bit with Texas Southern the year before. Was that who that was? Texas Southern?
Yeah, in 2022.
There was that one year where there was that one weird Northwestern State game where we won by 30, but it was like very slow paced and ugly for a little bit. We gave up 30 to Houston Baptist a couple years ago. I want to dominate an FCS team, and again, I'm not throwing SFA under the bus, but just on paper from last year, they got a lot of new faces. They have a new OC. This should be a game that we are able to win by 30, 40 points. And I really want to see us come out and dominate, especially on the defensive side, like you said. We can create turnovers, hold them. I'll even give them 24. 24 is a fine, but just like I want to see some big plays on defense. We need to get some stops. Like there, at no point in this game should it be a little bit stressful for us. So this is a big chance for the defense to really step up and beat an opponent they are for sure better than. Because offensively, like we've said all year, there's not really going to be a game where I don't think we can score 30, 40 points. There are plenty of games where the defense worries me, and I think they're just going to get outmatched. This is not one of those games. So outmatch your opponent. But yeah, I'll stick with 59-24. It'd be fun if we could score 60 or 70, but
yeah,
I'm focused on the defense.
For sure. I think in 2017, we beat Lamar 59-14 to open that season.
Yep.
And I remember thinking during that game, like, okay, I know it's just an FCS team, but we look good. You know,
they dominated that game. Yeah.
There's a difference between being an FCS team and like thoroughly dominating them to the point where it's like, okay, you look like a legit FBS team, not just a FBS team who's just, you know, a little bit better than an FCS team they should be better than. And then obviously that team, you know, went on to win the division, be in the Conference USA championship game. You know, we would love to be in American championship game this year. So, you know, maybe look like it this Saturday, hopefully.
Yep. This is a good prove it game. This is a good. I use the word litmus test for South Alabama. I won't quite go that far for SFA, but again, it's just another week where you can beat an opponent you are better than. So,
yeah, and one last thought on kind of the South Alabama win is that we were the only American team that really beat an FBS opponent last week. Technically, UTSA beat Kennesaw State, but they're just making the transition up from FCS. So, like, I think we probably turned some heads last week among the conference. And now this week, you look at the conference schedule. You've got Army at Florida Atlantic. You've got Temple at Navy. So you've East Carolina at ODU. That's not conference, but like you've got more games this week. Obviously, like it's the two that I mentioned, you've got two legitimate like conference games that go on your conference record: Army and Florida Atlantic, and Temple and Navy. And then you've also got, you know, Troy and Memphis. You've got UTSA and Texas State. Yep. So like Tulsa at Arkansas State, UAB at UL Monroe. So I think this week we kind of flipped the script from everybody else in our conference. We scheduled FCS second week. So it'll be interesting, I think, to scoreboard watch this week and see like, okay, how are the teams in our conference looking against other FBS teams now?
Yeah. I'm going to be watching Memphis close. Troy and Florida State back to back is an interesting slate for them.
Yeah,
I'm keeping an eye on those two games.
Yeah, and hopefully, meanwhile, we're just sitting there, you know, waiting to get our hopefully lopsided victory started while we're watching these games. But I think looking forward to our game for sure. Looking forward to the other games on the schedule this week, and then you know, we'll talk more about Tech next week. But that should be a really fun one, and I'm sure a lot of Mean Green fans are planning their visit out there. I'm on the fence about it, but you know,
see how we do this week. They got to convince me.
Yeah, I mean, going into Tech and winning, that's something that you I definitely get, you know, something you don't want to miss as a North Texas fan. But anyways, let's go beat SFA this week and make that a reality first. And any closing thoughts, Carter?
Let's go 2-0.
Yep. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.